So, welcome everyone. Let's start. So, we have with us the prayer of April 17, 1914, where Mother is in Pondicherry and for the first time, where she went to another place called Karikal, and then she's back to Pondicherry, and then she's writing this prayer. So, it's a bit longer prayer than others, but it's a really very interesting one to reflect upon. So, would anyone want to read it out aloud for us?
Yeah, then I'll go.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Pondicherry, April 17, 1914. O Lord, O Almighty Master, Sole Reality, grant that no error, no obscurity, no fatal ignorance may creep into my heart and my thought. In action, the personalities is the inevitable and indispensable intermediary of thy will and thy forces. The stronger, the more complex, powerful, individualized, and conscious is the personality, the more powerfully and usefully can the instrument serve. But by reason of the very character of personality, it easily tends to be drawn into the fatal illusion of its separate existence and become little by little a screen between thee and that on which thou willest to act. Not at the beginning in the manifestation, but in the transmission of the return, that is to say, instead of being as a faithful servant, an intermediary who brings back to thee exactly what is thy due, the forces sent forth in reply to thy action. There is a tendency in the personality to want to keep for itself a part of the forces with this idea: it is I who have done this or that, I who am thanked. Pernicious illusion, obscure falsehood, now are you discovered and unmasked. That is the maleficent canker, corroding the fruit of the action, falsifying all its results. O Lord, O my sweet Master, sole reality, dispel this feeling of the I. I have now understood that so long as there will be a manifested universe, the I will remain necessary for thy manifestation to dissolve or even to diminish or weaken. The I is to deprive thee of the means of manifestation in whole or part. But what must be radically and definitively suppressed is the illusionary thought, the illusionary feeling, the illusory sensation of the separate I. At no moment, in no circumstances must we forget that our I has no reality outside thee. O my sweet Master, my divine Lord, tear out from my heart this illusion so that thy servant may become pure and faithful, and faithfully and integrally bring back to thee all that is thy due. In silence, let me contemplate and understand this supreme ignorance and dispel it forever. Chase the shadow from my heart and let thy light reign in it, its uncontested sovereign, the Mother. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, yeah, any thoughts, any reflections as we have gone through this prayer? Anything that came out to you? Few lines. I mean, whenever we go through these prayers, it feels like how is it possible that in each prayer there is so much profoundness, there's so much beauty, and it's not that only a few prayers, it's like each prayer can be a full, mantra in itself for a lifetime. We don't need to jump to other prayers. Just this much is enough if we practice it really fully. Yeah. So maybe if not any reflection, then we will go slowly, one line by line, and if in between anything comes up, do share, unmute and share, please. So, of course, Divine Mother, she doesn't have to do this, but she's doing this so that she can show us the path. So, she's plunging in the darkness of an obscurity of ego consciousness so that she can show us, all of us who are trapped, her children who are trapped in ego consciousness, what is the way out, because there is a way out. So, O Lord, O Almighty Master, Soul Reality, again, I think this word soul reality again and again comes up in many, many prayers. And for us, everything else is real, but the divine is not real. We say that, oh, I can't feel mother's presence, it's not real for me. But rest, everything is very real for us, the TV, the children around us, my body. While here, mother reminds us again and again that only the divine is the soul reality. There is nothing else possible without the divine being here. So, soul reality, the only reality, grant that no error, no obscurity, no fatal ignorance may creep into my heart and my thought. So, again, this will resonate only with those who want to do this purification in their life. Otherwise, why would I want this? I would not be able to resonate with these lines. But now, as we understand and see the harmful instances of our ego consciousness, that how hurtful, harmful it is, how like poison it is to us and to others, then we can purify ourselves. Then we can think about, that please grant me, Mother, that no error, no obscurity, no fatal ignorance may creep into my heart and my thoughts. So, heart would be, the feelings, emotions, the bhava, and thoughts are thoughts. In action, the personality is the inevitable and indispensable intermediary of thy will and thy forces. So, all of us know very well that no matter how impersonal we may become, we would be some kind of a person. We can't rid of complete personality while being in the body. It's impossible almost, So that's why in Kabir's writings we see that he says, "Chadariya jhini re jhini, ज्यों की त्यों धर दीनी." So the kind of, the delicate psychic individuality that we get, like a curtain, I kept it very clean and I left it like that. I didn't make it mala, I didn't make it dirty. And that's what we have to do. We have to, make it very thin, very refined, so that it's like an impersonality and not like a rigid, solid, unchanging something, which becomes an obstacle. And in another couplet by Kabir, he also shares that my guru, my master's words, uh, wash my personality on the rock of awareness. So when we become conscious of each movement of our being, only then we can transform. So in Hindi or whatever language it would be, Surat shila par pakad pachati, ज्यों की त्यों धर दीनी. So it's like I was, cleaning a few doormats, and I had to do like how you do in villages, or when you do wash clothes by your hand, you have to like tha tha tha, you have to beat it on the floor, and the more you beat it on the floor, the more you see that there is dirt coming out. And the moment I was beating it on the floor, I was reminded of this exact couplet by Kabir, which was really beautiful. And this is how, the words of
Can you
master.
repeat it again, Monica, please? Surat Shila.
um, Surat shila par pakad pachati, jo.
Pakad.
Yeah, I'll share the exact song. It's a part of a song.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I'll
I
try to
have
find it.
the whole book of Kabir. Maybe I can find it there.
Okay. So it's not a couplet, it's a song. But
Okay.
yeah, maybe you can find a few lines there. I'll
But
try
it
to
will be
find it. Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So he's saying that awareness or consciousness is like that rock on which my master is beating me, so that all the dirt and dust and ignorance can come out of me. So, yeah. So that's what we have to do. Mother shares that we have to keep refining our individuality so that later on it becomes an impersonality. It's there, but it's like very impersonal. You don't take things to heart, and like things can just go through you. Like, if there is a uh, mirage kind of something, then you can go through it. We only get hurt when we are rigid like a wall. So if on a wall I hit a stone, then the wall gets hurt. But when the wall is so delicate that if you throw a stone, the stone just passes through. So that kind of delicateness we have to, slowly, by purification, offering ourselves, we have to make. So in action, the personality is the inevitable and indispensable intermediary of thy will and thy forces. And then Mother says that it's good to have a complex, stronger individuality. The stronger, the more complex, powerful, individualized, and conscious is the personality, the more powerfully and usefully can the instrument serve. So it's good to be a good individual. So when Mother says, talks about surrender, she says, what will you offer me? Because you have to be something to offer yourself to me, right? So you can't just offer a jelly-like sloppy mass to me, because then where are you? How am I to know where are you? So that's why ego is the helper, ego is the bar, because ego has first to be developed. Like, okay, this is me, these are my likes, these are my preferences, this is what I like to do, this is what I don't like to do. All that has to be developed, inculcated, nurtured, and then one has a very strong, powerful, personality. Now this formation can be surrendered. So surrender doesn't come in the beginning itself. Surrender comes after an individuality is formed. And that's how a servant can be a good servant, because the servant has skills to offer, the servant has talents, the servant has intelligence to offer. So he can be now of some use to the divine work. Yeah, anything till here? Anyone? But before I just keep going on. Yeah, this much. Anyone wants to add on anything?
I just want to share my experience. Just few days back, 2 days back, my student, one of my students, she's doing research on this, and she asked me, "Ma'am, you say that ego consciousness or is not good, but in Western, then I tried to explain the same thing, that first you have to be, you have to develop ego consciousness. Does not mean that you are so weak that anybody can come and hit you. So your first duty is to preserve yourself. That is also in our scripture, there is a word written ahankar. People consider it, ahankar is not pride or garv. Ahankar is your egoism, which you have to develop. And it is your duty also to save your ahankar first, and then you have to offer this. And we pray to, in Durga Saptashati, it is written that you protect my ahankar along with my other organs. But here, when I found this is so beautifully, now I think that I will refer this to her so that she can understand. First, you have to develop, and then this reflection is beautiful. First, you have to develop, then only you can offer yourself and surrender yourself. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Sharda ji had shared many a times that she makes these beautiful mandalas or rangolis for Mother Shri Aurobindo. And in Buddhism also we have a practice. I think somewhere in Tibetan regions they have a practice where they with very fine skills they make for many months a very beautiful intricate mandala, right? And after making that beautiful intricate mandala, they have to blow it away, like they have to maro fook on it so that it's blown away. So that's like letting go. So you
Beautiful.
created the beauty, but you're not clinging to it, grasping to it.
Not attached to that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And we make a painting and things like that, and then we preserve it for so long.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, anyone else? Anything to add on? Okay, so I'm going on in that case. But by reason of the very character of personality, it easily tends to be drawn into the fatal illusion of its separate existence and become little by little a screen between thee and that on which thou willest to act. So, this is what even Buddhist teachings that we hear nowadays with Jetsunma Tenzin Palmo, that's what they hint us towards, that don't be so obsessed with me all the time. So, it's okay to be me, we are me, but don't be so obsessed by it. So, our problem is that because we have a character, because we have a personality, by the very presence of it, we tend to become too identified with it, and we think that I am this, I end here, and the other person starts there. And that person has nothing to do with me. And let me accumulate riches for me, let that person go to hell, I must be in heaven. So, because of this distinction, this wall like thing that we create, we are then able to be, we become very ambitious and we are edging others so that I can come first, because there is so much of otherness, in our life. While if we listen to teachings, for example, by Thich Nhat Hanh, he shares that it is impossible that we are not interconnected. And in one of the teachings, as he shares, that in a pencil I can see rain, I can see cloud, because without cloud and rain and soil, pencil cannot be. So just like if we look at our own selves, which we call as this is me, without all these instrumentations, digestion is working by itself, respiration needs all the air around us, the soil, the farmers that are creating veggies, we are eating that. So there is so much of interconnection that without that, this cannot be. It is inseparable from the air, it is inseparable from the earth in which the crops are grown. It is inseparable from people who are growing cotton so that we can wear
Hear it.
clothes. Yeah. So that's why it's an illusion. Even so, this is just one way of looking at it. Many masters have shared that there is a continuity. Quantum physics again, proves it, that what you think that this is end of your finger, but there is no end here. There is a continuity between space and your finger. Even quantum physics, now we have a proof that there is a continuity.
How come? Please explain it more.
So if you if you go to the level of atoms, electrons, protons, even further, then this boundary doesn't exist. This exists only because of my limitation of senses. So how I see things, how I touch things, it appears like, oh, this is solid and this starts here and ends here, right? But that's only because of the instrument that we have of our senses. It's a limited instrument. For example, if you have if you don't have a microscope, right, then you can't see how many germs you have on your hand.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that the germs are not there.
Not there.
Right? So if you have a microscope, you can see, oh, there are things there, there is dust here, there is, things which I can't see. So my eyes are limited. But microscope is a further refinement of my eyes, with which I can see, no, this doesn't end here, it goes deeper, right? Then you have a further microscope which is called electron microscope. There you can see, no, germs ke piche bhi kuch hai. There is electron, protons that I can see here. So when I say, no, this is just a hand, skin and color, that's it. There is nothing further in it. Then I am deluding myself, because my instrument, which is this eyes, it is very limited. So our senses are very limited. And if our senses are perceiving something in a certain way, that doesn't mean that that thing is in that way.
Is not there.
Yeah.
So there is a concept in psychology also, like psychophysics. There's a discipline or branch is psychophysics. There we understand the same thing, that physical reality is there, but our senses, eyes, ear, we always perceive it in a relative terms. There is a difference, but our eyes can perceive a difference up to certain extent, but beyond that, it can't explain. So that doesn't mean that physical reality does not exist. But today you have explained it more in detail. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And there is further detail to it.
Yes.
This is nothing. We are just touching the tip of the iceberg. But to know that whatever we understand, whatever we see and perceive through the senses, that's not it.
Yes.
That's not it. There is more. And that's where we can be very unsure of our thoughts. That's where we can loosen the grip on our, oh, this is what I think and this has to be true. Because we know that we don't see fully.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think this is also beautiful thought to understand when you say in words that whatever is in you, that is in me also. But we see the boundaries, we see the separate. When you try to understand this reality in physical sense, in scientific terms, then this concept is a little bit understandable, that yes, we are the same in space.
Yeah.
The space we are standing different one, but actually we are the same.
Yeah.
So this feeling that everybody is same, this is only words until and unless you understand it. The consciousness is the same.
Yes. It's like, the other example that we can use. The other example that we can use is how, if you look at a tree,
Right.
Although when we are drawing a tree, we draw like, okay, there is a trunk, then there is branches, and there are leaves, and that's what is tree. We end it there. But if you look at closely to a tree, then you will see that a tree is inseparable from the air around it.
Oh, wow.
A tree is inseparable from the soil in which the roots are there. The tree is inseparable from the water or moisture that is there. So how the tree is inseparable from the insects that are being on the tree, the birds that are being on the tree. So how would you say that, okay, this is where the tree ends and this is where the bird starts? Now if we talk about the bird is inseparable from the tree. Where will it make the nest? What will it eat? It eats insects and worms that are around the tree. So that's how there is a vast interconnectedness that we are a part of. And if we understand this, then we will not be torturing the earth in the way that we torture. We won't be able to throw garbage outside our house. Why? Because we will realize that the thing that I'm throwing outside, it's going to actually come back to me again.
True.
Yeah.
For us, first we have to understand, then only we can explain this to younger generation whom we are telling it. That is why I am trying to understand it in physical, scientific. Good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And also, like if we look at grosser terms, even there we can see this interconnectedness. For example, many people use cod liver oil, and cod liver oil is coming from fish, right?
Fish.
Or they are eating fish. Many people are eating fish. Now, the more we see prevalent of plastic in the oceans, because people are frolicking around the oceans and shores, and they have plastic pet bottles and they just throw it around, and that plastic goes inside the oceans, and
Ocean.
the fish are feeding in that water. And when the fish comes back on the table and the plate, it has the same plastic that I had thrown in the ocean.
Yes.
So we
In
can't.
fact, in fact, there's a recent research where in Allahabad only he was referring it, that it has been found that plastic in human blood, and everybody sitting over there was aghast how this is possible. All scientific queries and how this is possible. Plastic is not soluble, so how it can be solid in blood? But actually, people are not realizing it. Correct.
Yeah. So there are many implications of this knowing and understanding of our interconnectedness.
Right.
So a mother says that, but by reason of the very character of personality, it easily tends to be drawn into the it's like a deadly illusion, fatal illusion of its separate existence, and become little by little a screen. It's like I've made a layer between the divine and where the divine would like to act, between thee and on which thou willest to act. Not at the beginning in the manifestation, but in the transmission of the return. That is to say, instead of being as a faithful servant and intermediary who brings back to thee exactly what is thy due, the forces sent forth in reply to thy action, there is a tendency in personality to want to keep for itself a part of forces with this idea that it is I who have done this or that. So, mother says not in the beginning. Why not in the beginning? Because in the beginning, ego is necessary. In the beginning, individualization is necessary. So personality is necessary, right? So not in the beginning, but when we are mature enough, now that we have a well-formed individuality, then what happens that many a times it's like, a parent has given some money to a child, and the child thinks, oh, now it's my money, I can do whatever I want with the money. So the child keeps a share of it in the pocket without telling the parent, which is unethical, which is dishonest. This is what we want to do. So we think that, oh, the parent would not know, I'll get something, bring it home, and rest of the thing I can, maybe use it for my own things, my own frolic around. So that's where mother says that instead of being a faithful servant, an intermediary who brings back to thee exactly what is thy due. So what is my due? If I have given 10, I have to get whatever you can buy in 10. But what do I get as the divine being? So I am the divine, I am the parent. I have sent out a unfaithful servant, and the unfaithful servant gives only 8 back and keeps 2 in the pocket. For example, I'm just using a very trivial example. So instead of being a faithful servant and intermediary who brings back to thee exactly what is thy due, the forces sent forth in reply to that action. So whatever we have been granted with, we have been granted with really so much. We have a functional body, sound intellect, an understanding capacity, ability to reflect upon things, ability to be kind, ability to be compassionate. All of that we have, each one of us who are here. But what we do, we make misuse of it. So all the forces that the divine has given us, the forces sent forth in reply to the action, what do? There is a tendency in the personality to want to keep for itself a part of the forces with this idea: it is I who have done this or that, I who am thanked. So we want respect, we want name, we want recognition, and we are hurt when we are insulted, when we are rejected, when we are not given our due, so-called due that the mind creates. Now, this was my due, why didn't it come back to me? This is where we suffer. I comes in the picture. That becomes the pain in our eyes. We don't realize that we are nothing if the body is not functional. Absolutely nothing. We are nothing if the sound intellect is not there. So what do I owe? It's all belonging to the divine. I have nothing. Really, I'm nothing. So even when people may not be spiritual, even by common sense, we can understand that a couple of interactions in the brain, they misfire and we are nothing, really. All our capacities to understand, reflect, all that is gone. So then there is no point of I being here. So it is I who have done this or that, I who am thanked. And then mother relates with this, a pernicious illusion. An illusion which is not only an illusion, but it can be very deadly and harmful and fatal. Slowly it can weaken you, disempower you, take you further and further away from the divine. Pernicious illusion, obscure falsehood. Now you are discovered and unmasked. So mother says, now you are in front of me. Oh pernicious illusion, oh obscure falsehood. Now I can see you. So now even in Buddhist text, I see this very often. Like Shanti Deva, one of the earlier Buddhist masters, he says that now I see you, O ego, how you have made me suffer in the earlier lifetimes, but now I am not going to listen to your dictates. So whenever the ripple of the ego arises in the being and there is a want for name, fame, recognition, praise, wanting to be validated, you can see it and you can say, sorry, now I can't follow you. So pernicious illusion, obscure falsehood, now are you discovered and unmasked. That is the maleficent canker, corroding the fruit of action, falsifying all its results. So this is like, one drop of, if I give you a glass of water and I add just one little drop of drain water in it, and I say, it's just one drop, drink it. You won't be able to drink it. So that's how we mix our poison of ego consciousness in each act and thought and feeling. And that's what has to be removed. And even when it's like one drop, it's drain water. It's not really worth being offered to the divine. So that's what we have to slowly purify ourselves of. So that is the maleficent canker, and canker is the original word for cancer. And we also have in fruits, there are many diseases of plants and fruits where we call citrus canker, for example, where in citrus fruits there is this cancer-like growth, which is called canker. So that is the maleficent canker, corroding the fruit of action. And what does canker do? A canker uses all the nutrition for itself. It doesn't give space to the healthy cells. It says, just remove yourself from the scene. I am here. So all the nutrition it takes up, all the blood, all the sugar in the blood, it takes up for its growth. And it doesn't let the healthy cells survive that much. Corroding the fruit of the action, falsifying all its result. Yeah. Any comment, any reflection until here? Anyone? Oh, I'm sorry, I muted you. I wanted to mute myself. Yes, Claudia, go ahead.
No, it was a mistake. Sorry.
Okay, okay. Yeah, anything, anyone, before we go ahead? Okay, moving on. O Lord, O my sweet Master, sole reality, dispel this feeling of the I. I think all of us can resonate with this. And if we look at our thoughts, if we become conscious of our thoughts, we can know how much we are obsessed with our own self. I have now understood that so long as there will be a manifested universe, the I will remain necessary for thy manifestation. To dissolve or even to diminish or weaken the I is to deprive thee of means of manifestation in whole or part. And that is why Jatsunma shares that we should have a very good friendship with ourselves. We should be our good friend. Yeah. So she doesn't say that we have to beat ourselves up and we have to say, no, 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 I'm not worthy, I'm no one. No, we don't have to beat ourselves up. We just have to know that yes, we are all extraordinary, and yet we are all just a speck of dust, very ordinary. And each one of us is that. Very ordinary, extraordinary at the same time. And I'm no special than the other person. So, but in each of our own selves, we are very unique and very special. So, we are gift of the divine to our own selves. So, in that sense, we have to nurture ourselves. We have to, nurture goodness in us. We don't have to beat ourselves up. Just like how would we take care of a good friend? That's how we have to take care of our own self. So, the idea is not to beat the ego up. That's not the idea. So even to diminish or weaken the I is to deprive the divine of means of manifestation, because we are the instruments through which the divine wants to work. All of us, each creature, not just human beings, each creature is a mode of manifestation of the divine. So if I don't take care of myself, if I don't nurture myself, then I am actually telling the divine that no, you can't work through me. So, to deprive thee of the means of manifestation in whole or part, but what must be radically and definitively suppressed is the illusory thought, the illusory feeling, the illusory sensation of the separate I. And this is where many masters have helped us with many, many tools, like Rupert Spira. He talks about that if we go deeper into finding who is this I, who is this I, all that you find is just pure awareness. Ramanna Maharishi, he talks about self-inquiry. Go find out who is having this doubt. Because when we go further just with this question, okay, let me see who is having this doubt, and we go deeper and deeper and deeper and dig, and if we dig deeper in our being, then we realize that there just is presence of awareness from which all these illusions arise, disappear, arise, disappear, arise, disappear. Like a wave is arising in the ocean, disappearing into the ocean, arising in the ocean, disappearing into the ocean. And then our thoughts, feelings about me, I, and all other thoughts, they are not that important to us. Now, what is important to me is this presence of awareness, which never goes away, which is forever there. The presence of awareness is forever there. Through that, I become aware of a thought, aware of a feeling, aware of my headache, aware of my tummy ache, the hunger that I feel. It's because of that awareness due to which I understand, to become aware of things. So there is no separate I is an illusion. At no moment, in no circumstances, must we forget that our I has no reality outside thee. So, if not for the presence of the divine who is animating our being, we have no existence. Today, the divine wants this being to end, it will be ended. If the divine wants it to be in action, it's there in action. So we have no really, no existence outside of divine will. O my sweet master, O my divine Lord, tear out from my heart this illusion, so that thy servant may become pure and faithful. Why tear out? Because tearing out is always when it's like joint, like, if I'm tearing out a paper, then it's like I am taking a part of it from itself. So why tear out? Because we are so identified and glued with this false identity of me, that it's become a part of me. And that's why tearing out. Like if I, it's there is a paper, like if I have to tear this out like this, I tear it out. So it feels like I'm removing a part of the paper itself, because I have not known myself otherwise. So that's how it's in Savitri also I think we read a line where it was as if like a lump of flesh is being taken away. That's how ego consciousness is glued to our identity. So tear out from my heart this illusion, so that thy servant may become pure and faithful, and faithfully and integrally bring back to thee all that is thy due. So what we were reflecting upon in the beginning, that if the divine has given me this instrument, all that I do, think, feel from this instrument belongs to the divine. No need to keep that 2 penny in my pocket for my own little self. Because the more I keep for my little self, the more I am actually making real and concretizing my little self. Right? So the more I live with the sense of lack, that I have a lack and I have to fill up that lack. So let me keep, instead of 2 today, I keep 5 and only give back the other 5. The more I do this, then the more I make concrete the sense of lack within, which I'm not. So I'm propagating a falsehood, which I'm not. And yet I remain a beggar. In silence, let me contemplate and understand this supreme ignorance and dispel it forever. Chase the shadow from my heart and let this shadow again. We were reading that day where Kabir ji, there was a word mirror came, that when our emotional mind is clouded with lots of thoughts and emotions, then we can't have a clear reflection of who we truly are in that mirror that's there in the heart. So chase this shadow from my heart. So this ego consciousness, this separate me, is like a shadow on our heart. It's like a baggage, like a burden, like dark cloud. And let thy light reign in it. It's uncontested sovereign. Declaring the divine uncontested. There is no other contestant standing opposing to the divine. We belong to the divine. I belong to the divine, and I belong to no one. I may be, having all the relationships that are there around us, the spouse, the siblings, the children, they may be there, but we belong, each one of us, even the children, they also belong to the divine. They don't belong to us. Uncontested, sovereign. Yeah, any reflections, any thoughts, anyone? So there was something, if not any reflection, there was something from, I was just searching for a word, impersonality, and then I came upon this essays on the Gita. Sri Aurobindo talks about impersonality. So I thought I'll just maybe share the link itself on the WhatsApp group for us to go later, but just sharing this with you here. So I think it would be nice if we can go through all of us in our silences if we want to go through. So I'll maybe share this with you. Yeah, essays on the Gita. So this here Sri Aurobindo talks about this impersonality that we were talking of, and also in another one he talks about Jivan Mukta. So who is a Jivan Mukta? Who doesn't have any personal desires. And there is a life possible without personal desires. Because often we wonder that how would my life go on and move on if I have no desires? But there is a possibility. Like in one of the couplets, Kabirji says, चाह गई चिंता मिटी मनवा बेपरवाह जिनको कुछ नहीं चाहिए वो शाहन के शाह. I think it's Rahim ji, not Kabir ji, that he says that I don't have any personal desires now, don't have any wants now, and I don't even have any worries, because whenever we have wants we have worries, because when the wants are not fulfilled then it turns into a worry. So he says I don't have any wants and hence I don't have any worries. जिनको कुछ नहीं चाहिए, the one who doesn't want anything personal for himself, that one is a true king of himself, because then he's not a slave to desires, not a slave to outer things and approvals and validations. Yeah. So that to me would reflect Sri Aurobindo's Jivan Mukta, one who has nothing to gain from the material existence, but he's there with the Lord in his heart, and the Lord is the Lord of his being. Nothing else he wants for his personal comfort, satisfaction, and fulfillment. And that's also, I think, our possibility if we remind. Yeah, so any last reflections before we end? Anyone? Okay, so thank you. Thank you for being here and listening so patiently and sharing and reflecting together. Happy practice to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anjali ji. Bye bye.